Hello, how are you? I'm slightly racing against the daylight today. I've been busy working all day, but I want to make a video while there was still some natural light out because there's a book prize I want to talk about. I know, shock surprise, I want to talk about a book prize. But in a week's time, on March 24th, the winner of this year's Rathbones Folio Prize is going to be announced. So I want to make a video talking about the shortlist for this year's award. These are the 8 books that have been shortlisted, and I always really enjoy following this book award because it is shaped by the Folio Academy and its members that are mainly comprised of writers and critics who have strong input in the books that are put forward for this award. So it's really a book prize, that is given to authors by their peers, and these are people who are obviously heavily invested in the craft of writing and look for real excellence in books. So I think it's an award that sadly it sets it slightly apart from other book awards, and yeah, I just always find that they make really great selections. And this year the judges for this year's award are really interesting group of people. So there's the poet Roger Robertson, there is the author and broadcaster Sinead Gleason, and there's the novelist John McGregor, and I've read all of their work and really enjoyed it, and so really admire their and respect their tastes. And yeah, these 8 books, I've read half of them, so I've read 4 out of the 8 on the list. So I'm especially looking forward to reading the other books on the list. I mean, I probably won't read the other 4 before the winner is announced, but still looking forward to getting to them. But yeah, especially interested to see what's going to be selected as the winner on the 24th. So I'm going to go through each of these books individually and just talk about them a bit. First off is Indelicacy by Amina Cain. This is quite a slender, very original novel, which is a kind of ghostly feminist fable about a woman who works as a cleaner in a museum and marries a very wealthy man to have the freedom to pursue her desire to write. So I thought it was really interesting, yeah, original take on the creative process and having the actual freedom to pursue that. Then there is the debut poetry collection My Darling from the Lions by Rachel Lawn, which was also shortlisted for the poetry category of this year's Costa Book Awards. And I really enjoyed the sly sense of humor of these personal and political poems. And one of my favorite poems in the collection was this one called The Musical Box, which is about the lives of our parents before we were born and we knew them, and sort of connecting with that past and history through a physical object. And I just thought that was so creatively done, and it has a gorgeous cover. In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, this is a highly inventive memoir that describes the experience of being in an abusive relationship by recasting it as a fairy tale that's filled with fantasy and pleasure and horror. And the way she approaches this is so fascinating and is as analytical as it is emotional. The Mermaid of Black, Conch by Monique Roffey. You've heard me talk about this novel a number of times before. It was the overall winner of this year's Costa Book Awards, and it is such a brilliantly imaginative story that works both as a fantastical love tale between a mermaid and a fisherman, but also really fascinating re-examination of the history of colonialism in the Caribbean. I just enjoyed this so much, and it is such an intelligent book. Then there are the 4 books on the list which I haven't read yet, but which I'm quite keen to get to, especially because 3 of these books are by Irish authors, and an Irish readathon is going on during the month of March. So it's very neat how this all fits together, and so these are the great suggestions of books by Irish authors if you want to participate in that, and like I do. And so the first is Handiwork by Sara Baume. I've read this author's previous two novels, and this is a relatively short narrative about the nature of art, grief, and a life lived well. And this is such an original author, so I'm keen to read more about her process of creating art. As You Were by Elaine Feeney. This is a debut novel by an author that's also a poet. She's published a few collections before, so I'm always slightly unsure about poets that become novelists, because sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't, but I've heard really great things about this. It's about a tough, driven, and funny property developer who has a terrifying secret that she only confides to a magpie. So that is really intriguing. A Ghost in the Throat by Doireann na Ghriofa. And yes, I've looked up how to properly pronounce this author's quite complicated Irish name now, and I've talked about this book before because it's also on the long list for this year's Republic of Consciousness Prize. It also won the Irish Book Awards Book of the Year, and it's been a bestseller in Ireland. The author is also a poet that's published some collections before, and this narrative is a creative blend of memoir and history, as it's about an 18th century poet that comes to take a haunting presence in the life of a contemporary young mother. And yeah, I've just heard such great things about it. It has a gorgeous cover, and I'm so eager to read this. I did start reading it at one point, but then and was really enjoying it, but got distracted for some reason. So yeah, it's time to go back to it and actually finish it this time. And finally, there is Poor by Caleb Femi, which I'm also very eager to read, partly just because I've been wanting to read some more poetry, and also this author is from South London. I'm from Peckham. I also live in South London, so I think it'll be really interesting to read a local poet. And this is a collection which celebrates the lives of young Black boys and the architecture that shapes them. And it's not just poetry, but also includes some photographs and other visuals mixed in with the prose. So yeah, really eager to explore this. So those are the 8 books on the shortlist. Let me know if you've read any of these, or if you're eager to read any of these as well. And it'll be exciting to see which of these books wins on March 24th. So thank you for watching. I'll speak to you again soon. Happy reading, everyone. Bye-bye.